I'm sure many of you have noticed that there is a weird obsession among comic book writers with race and sexuality and multiple things of that nature. One such writer is Alyssa Wong. Iron Fist, well, the new Iron Fist should be coming out within the next 24 hours, should be out on Wednesday. And there's this article that I saw about the queering of Star Wars. Since this comic book is actually coming out within a few days, I figured I needed to cover it here. And it really gets to the heart of a lot of issues with comic books, comic book publishing in general. Why aren't things connecting with people anymore? And I think a lot of it does have to do with immutable traits, whether it be the character's race, obviously in this case, the character's sexuality. She mentions that a lot. I don't think a lot of people go, you know what? I really connect with this character specifically because they're this race or this sexuality. People connect with characters because they're well-defined, fully fleshed out. They make decisions that make sense, and you can understand where they're coming from, and hopefully there's an exciting story that'll bring you along with it. And a lot of that stuff is missing. You have these writers like an Alyssa Wong, I'm going to get into her words here in a moment, where they're so obsessed with the other things, all the character traits that obviously make up who the character is, but they never focus in on the character and what they are and what they represent. So you get these really shallow, hollow, quite frankly, they're kind of cookie cutouts of characters or shells. And therefore, people don't really connect with them and they don't come along for the journey. Now, I will start out talking about the Iron Fist thing she says. I do have some issues with that. Then we'll get into the queering of Star Wars that she talks about. This was the first quote that Alyssa Wong has to say about Iron Fist. It's about someone who is trying to find their place in the world and trying to figure out how to navigate it when the way they came into this place in their life isn't the same as the person who came before them. I'm personally excited to write an Asian Iron Fist. It means a lot to me personally. But why does it mean a lot to Alyssa Wong personally? So she can change out the character of Danny Rand with a new Asian character? It's not because she likes Iron Fist. It's made quite apparent within the text of the article. She never mentions liking Iron Fist. Alyssa Wong only mentions reading Iron Fist when she got the gig to write the character. So why is it so important to her personally? It's not important because she loves the character. It's not important because she loves the Marvel Comics universe. It's not important that she loves comic books. It's important that she gets to change something that she thinks was wrong, which I think is really strange because Iron Fist Danny Rand, the thing that makes the character cool and one of the things that you can relate to is the fish out of water story. Yes, he's a Western character being thrown into what would typically be like an Asian Eastern type setting. I think everybody watching this video can understand what it's like to go into a situation and not feel like you should be there, or you're there, but you're like, what am I doing here? I don't understand what's going on. And then having to immerse yourself and understand that world and try to make yourself a part of it. Changing Iron Fist from Danny Rand to an Asian character just makes the character a stereotype. I thought when we stereotype characters and you make a new Asian character and they're all about dragons and kung fu, we weren't supposed to do that anymore. We were supposed to look deeper into the character, maybe give them some traits that aren't so stereotypical, based on people's, nationality or race and creed, color, all those things. Now it's personal. She's taking a personal enjoyment in that. And I find that strange. Another interesting thing, and let's get into Star Wars and why she isn't connecting with Star Wars readers and audiences very much. If you go look at the Dr. Aphra sales for 2021, obviously those are estimates. I looked at the top 1,000. There are some issues of Dr. Aphra in the top 1,000 for the year. The only ones in the top 500 were all associated with the War Bounty Hunter story. So obviously the series got a big bump there. As soon as that thing's over, there isn't another issue. There's a couple more that were released, didn't even make the top 1,000. It's a Star Wars comic book. When you hear this, you will understand why Alyssa Wong does not connect with Star Wars audiences. It's not because she's Asian. It's not because she's queer. It's because she's not a Star Wars fan. This is what she had to say. The Force Awakens and Aphra were the two things where I was like, Star Wars has room for people like me. And getting to write Aphra and create new queer characters for Star Wars is incredible. It has taught me so much, not only about myself, but also the fact that we all need to be bolder and continue to push and ask for more, because as an audience, we deserve to be able to see ourselves in stories. And as creators, we also deserve to be able to tell stories about people who are like us and people who are like our communities. Got into Star Wars because of The Force Awakens and Dr. Aphra. Everything you want to know about why she's not connecting with Star Wars audiences, right? came in on things that aren't exactly classic, probably isn't very rooted in actual really high quality Star Wars storytelling. Didn't feel welcome until there was bad Star Wars storytelling. But here's the real kicker, that line, those lines at the end. We deserve to be able to see ourselves in stories. That is bullshit. That is entitlement. There shouldn't be a carbon copy cut out of every single person in the world in every story. That is a weird assumption or even expectation that every comic book or every sci-fi story that there needs to be a perfect representation of you. Star Wars isn't social commentary. It's not about the sexuality of the characters. What do we see Luke do in the entire original trilogy? He kisses his sister once, which is strange. There's a little bit of a love story, which isn't perfectly fleshed out between Han and Leia, but otherwise, there's not a whole lot going on there as far as relationships. Sure, in the prequel trilogy, it's all about Padme and Anakin, but that's nothing to celebrate. That's one of the cringiest, weirdest on-screen dynamics of something that's supposed to be, I don't know, loving ever. Like every scene of those two together was just, I've never seen worse chemistry between two actors. But this weird entitlement, I personally am an Asian, disabled, trans person. There should be an Asian, disabled, trans alien in Star Wars. That is a weird expectation, but that's what these people that are ruining comic books, they come into these things like that, and that's why they end up ruining these stories. Where's my representation? I like the movie Barbershop. There's no West stand-in. Where's the middle-aged Irish guy that had to go into the military to escape a pretty weird upbringing? Huh? That likes comic books. There's nobody like that in Barbershop, but I can still fucking enjoy the movie. Want to know why? Because I'm not so hung up on my race and my sexuality and all the weird traits that make me, specifically me, that I have to feel like it needs to be represented in every piece of entertainment or art in the fucking world. Because I'm normal. Unfortunately, we have a lot of abnormal activist creators right now. There's the other line. We also deserve to be able to tell stories about people who are like us and people who are like our communities. Go get them, Tiger. Go create some comic books. You don't have to write these things into Star Wars where they don't belong. Just because you think you are a unique, special snowflake doesn't mean that there needs to be perfect representation of you or your community in every single thing in the world. And it doesn't mean when you get hired to do something, it's time to shoehorn or hand-fist something in there and ruin something that a lot of people actually love. These aren't your franchises. These aren't your characters. You're the caretakers. You get to have the enjoyment and the responsibility of taking care of them and presenting the stories and how these characters interact. But as soon as you start deviating, the audience leaves because they can't take anymore. Dr. Aphra is an interesting character when you go read that Vader Down story. She's a complete plot device. Not a whole lot to that character. She's literally there to explain what Vader's doing, because he doesn't talk a whole lot, and to put a few things in motion so you have this enormous badass conflict in that story. Why they decided Dr. Aphra needed her own series, need to be the breakout star from Disney Star Wars, I don't know, but they never fleshed out the character correctly. Everyone saw Dr. Aphra for who she was in the original story. It's weird that Vader didn't kill her to begin with. She's a loose end, but that's how we got where we are. And hirings like Alyssa Wong aren't helping. Talking about working with Lucasfilm, apparently a willing accomplice. I was like, okay, it's going to be super gay talking about her Star Wars. And they were cool. I have been constantly blown away and gratified by Lucasfilm's notes for my stories. And it's always been so supportive. And each time I was like, am I going to get away with this? They were like, yeah, give us more. That just felt really good. Wait, what? Record skip. I thought all LGBTQ plus creators and comic books were discriminated against and they couldn't get their stories out there. Nobody would ever approve them. And I love the line. Am I going to get away with this? Alyssa Wong literally knows that she's writing stories that don't fit into the Star Wars universe and is constantly surprised when Lucasfilm, her willing accomplice, allows her to do it. Nobody is asking or looking for super gay Star Wars. Why would there be super gay Star Wars? That was never super straight Star Wars, was there? Did anyone ever go to the movies to see super straight Star Wars? Did anyone go to their comic shop to read about a super straight Star Wars story? When you go at it with that mentality that I need to have super gay Star Wars, and you wonder why your sales fell off. And you wonder why Iron Fist is going to fail. She's writing over at DC Comics now. I wonder if she's going to fail there too. Absolutely. The customers are looking to go to a galaxy far, far away and escape the bullshit that we're all going through right now. We've all been through it for the last 2 years, just thinking about this shit that we've been through, and it sucked ass. The reason people like entertainment is they want to escape. Look at all the fallout with Tolkien and this weird Amazon Lord of the Rings series that's going on. You completely ignited an entire fan base, and not in a good way. They all hate each other's guts now because you have people who they take it as a personal challenge and a personal triumph to go into something like Lord of the Rings where these things aren't really present because it's not part of the narrative. It's not part of the story that's being told, and then shove it in there and say, you eat it anyway. There is no escapism nowadays. And that's why you see something like Spider-Man No Way Home do enormously successful, because people their expectations weren't subverted. They went into a Spider-Man movie hoping to see the other two Spider-Man and some of the old villains, and that's what they fucking got. They didn't want to go in there and be fucking preached to or told about how everything sucks nowadays, or you have to do this or you have to do that. They just wanted to see an exciting story with the hero winning in the end. That's what we're all here for. There's another weird quote. This one doesn't really have to do with what I'm talking about. This last quote that I'll talk about, where she talks about using block bots. I think it's a weird business decision, but this is what Alyssa Wong had to say about that. There's a chain blocker. So if I'm getting harassed by someone, there are apps where you can go in and block everyone who has liked that tweet. There's an app that I just started using called Block Party that automatically mutes anyone who @s you that meets certain parameters, which is supposed to trim down on trolls and bots. I find this to be the weirdest phenomenon. You have a creator, Alyssa Wong, who's literally going out there purposely trying to upset the Star Wars audience. When they get feedback, which inevitably is going to have some negativity to it, they just start blocking people, not individually. Someone threatens you, is harassing you, go fucking block them. I block people. Of course I do. It can be all a bit much. You can tell there are some people out there that are just coming from a very weird place and like, yeah, I don't need that person around here. But to just block everybody if they meet certain parameters, I wonder what those parameters are. If you can't take the negative criticism, don't write the story. If you want to go out there and make fundamental changes to a universe, yeah, you're going to get the feedback from the audience if they don't accept it or they don't like the changes that you've made. As a creator, you need to be able to take feedback. It's just the weirdest thing that she would go in here in this article and is like, oh yeah, I use Block Party and we just block everybody. That is nothing to be proud of. That is absolute weak sauce. If you want to go into someone else's sandbox and start messing with the things that they love, start breaking them, you better be willing to deal with the consequences. You can call it harassment, whatever. Likely a vast majority of it just negative feedback. So I think this was just a really good example. You know, going out there and writing an article about the queering up of Star Wars, takes changing Iron Fist into an Asian character as a personal victory, goes to Lucasfilm, wants to write super gay Star Wars. And when she talks about her victories and the things she's proud of, it's never, oh, I made this character and everybody loved this character. I wrote this story and everybody got into it. It was something that really united the fandom. They were really into it. It's always, no, I divided everybody. I threw a bunch of shit in there that never belonged, and people got upset about it, and I got to block them. It's not an Alyssa Wong problem. This is a comic book issue problem, but she is a symptom of a greater issue within comic books. And I thought this was a really good example, using her own words, really kind of spelling out what the issues are. If you don't know who Christopher Cantwell is, he's going to be the writer on the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi comic book, obviously in conjunction with the Disney Plus a show that's coming out. This dude is bad news, and if you're a Star Wars fan, it's only getting worse.